Hi, it's Tina today with my monthly series of blank canvas. And this month I'm going to walk you through, like I have been for the last few months, on how to take a blank piece of chipboard and transform it into a mixed media layout. So here is my chipboard. I did not actually pre-gesso it this time. I'm going to go ahead and use a raw piece of chipboard. And I'm going to use one of the stamps. When I am doing this video, the stamp was still in the store, so I don't know if it still is or not, but this is one of the Catherine Scanlon stamps that she designed, and it has a really great design. So I'm going to emboss on my background to create a resist effect a little bit when I put some watercolors on the back. So right now I'm just inking it up with some embossing ink. And I'm going to go ahead and just place it on my raw chipboard. And I'm going to go ahead and this embossing ink was in the November kit. I love this color. It's like a peachy pink salmon color, so you can see what it looks like when it's on my chipboard sheet. So now I'm going to go ahead and ink it up again and put another one of the stamped images on my background. Sorry for my head in the video right there. And I love this Lindy's embossing powder. It totally got me addicted to embossing again. It is very fine and it melts beautifully. So you can see I added a couple more areas of embossing ink on the top and the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the watercolors that were in the November kit, and I'm just totally randomly applying the watercolor onto my background sheet. I love using watercolors. I love the non-perfect look of it. I love it when the colors start blending together. So you can see me just adding various colors onto my, eventually onto my layout. And you can see the embossing ink is resisting some of it. So you'll be able to see slightly in my finished layout how that embossing ink resist looked at with the watercolor inks or watercolor paints. And I love the shimmer effect that these Niji pearlescent watercolors had as well. It's different than your typical watercolors. They have a great shimmer to them, and it worked beautifully with the embossing powder. So you can see me just building on color after color, keeping it wet. I'm constantly dipping my brush in the water, just again to keep it blending together. And that's what's awesome about using these chipboard sheets, is you can do that and it doesn't really warp. You can put tons of water on it and it doesn't warp, and that's why I do a lot of my mixed media layouts on chipboard sheets instead of actual paper. And I really don't have anything in mind on what I'm doing. I'm just playing. That's one thing I love about doing mixed media. I don't really kind of have an end goal in mind. I just start adding product and color onto a page and just start playing around with it. So you'll see me here in a minute, kind of scan ahead so you don't have to sit and watch me add the watercolor on it. So that's what my page looked like towards the end, and now I'm just kind of filling in some of the areas that I had missed previously. But you can see I used several colors, some oranges and some yellows and some beautiful reds and blues, and they all blended beautifully together. And you can still see that resist embossed image in the center of the page. And because I didn't pre-gesso my chipboard, it really actually soaked into it and created a really cool look on my layout. So now I'm just going to make sure it's very dry. I'm just going to heat set it here. So now I'm going to take the Lindy spray that was in the paper add-on kit, and these colors are absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with them. And I'm just spritzing some of it over top of the watercolor, again, just to kind of build on my colors. So I used the yellow that was in the paper add-on. Now I'm using the red color that was in the paper add-on, and it looks beautiful with the watercolors. I really liked how that looked and blended with the watercolor paint. And now I'm going to use some blue that I have in the store, at least I did when I made the video, and I'm just creating some water droplets, not like a intense spray, but just little droplets of blue here and there. So now I'm taking one of my favorite new stencils, and I'm using some embossing paste that was in last month's kit, and I'm going to go ahead and just apply it to a couple of areas on my background. The embossing paste is different than embossing, or the embossing paste is different than your typical embossing paste. This one is a little bit softer that was in the kit. It doesn't dry as hard, and I kind of like that. It's just a different look. So I let that dry, and then actually what I did on the background, and you can see it, I moved ahead here, I painted over top of it because it blended into the background a little bit too much, and I wanted it to stand out a little bit more. So I just used gesso, and I went over top of where that stencil was. And then I also added, you can see on here, some star stencils, and again, I did it with the black embossing paste, and I really didn't like the look of the black. It was too stark for what I was going for, so I actually covered a lot of it up with gesso too. So you can see hints of black come through on my layout, but it's not that stark black look. I just covered it up with gesso. And now I'm just adding my photos onto my layout. I use score tape a lot when I'm adding and I'm adhering product to a mixed media layout. I think it holds better. You could always use liquid adhesive too, but score tape works really well. It's one of my favorite adhesives. So now I'm pretty happy with how I've got my photos on there, and I'm just it kind of bent up a little bit on the side, so I'm just bending it back down, but you can see it really doesn't warp. I really like that. So now what I'm going to do is add some of the embellishments. So what I did was actually cut some of the larger flowers out of one of the art journal and coloring pages, and I outlined the edges with the metallic pens that were in the kit. And those are beautiful, beautiful pens. And I just took some buttons from my stash, and you see me sewing on the button to the center of the flower just to make a really large embellishment for my page. And I'm just using some plain twine that I had in my stash to do that. I'm just using some of my artist tape to hold down the edges of the twine on the back of the flower. And you can see it was a super simple embellishment. So now I'm going to add some more buttons to my background. I went ahead and stitched those on as well. And now I'm just adding the title to my background. I wasn't quite sure where I wanted it, so I was moving it around a little bit. And I typed the word love to slide right underneath true. So the title is True Love. So it really didn't take me that long to make this layout, and it turned out pretty simple, but I really like the color, the intensity of the color in the background. It was the look that I was going for. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this month's version of a blank canvas. Thanks for watching.